Let's get started, bro. No pressure. I'm after Roberto Williams and then Jay Lex and bloody hell.
No pressure, but we're just starting anyway. So this is only the fourth one.
Yeah.
And we're just kind of learning as we go. All right. So welcome to episode 4 of the Warfare podcast. We've got our first international guest for this one, Mark Talanoa.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
bro.
So I wanted to get you on because I noticed the positivity you've been putting out by speaking your truth.
Yeah.
And it's a voice we don't hear much in the Pacific Islander community, and I think it's an important voice. Road to Redemption is your movement. Can you explain to us what it is?
Road to Redemption. So yeah, it's a movement that me and my wife put together upon getting out of prison. I just got out of prison about 2.5 years ago, and it's basically about empowering and inspiring change through my lived experiences and through my truths, whether that's drug addiction, getting deported, being in prison, ending up wanting to take my life while I was in prison and ending up in a psychiatric wing, heavily dosed on medication, worshipping the devil. So that's Road to Redemption is just about me inspiring change through my truths and speaking out on taboo topics that no one really wants to talk about, I believe, in our culture.
Sakatailo.
Yeah. Malo toko.
Because that means in Tongan.
Yeah.
Can't tell looking at it, actually Tongan.
Yeah, I know. Very, very fair. Very, very fair Tongan.
Albino Tongan.
Yeah. Oh.
So yeah, that's a lot. Like how did you?
I know it's a bit. That's pretty much my story in a nutshell. But yeah, it's a bit much. But
so were you born in New Zealand?
Yes, born and raised East Auckland, Glen Innes, and my mum sent me and my brother over to Oz when I was 14. She seen the road that we were kind of going down with gangs and violence, and we were headed down a slippery slope. So she sent us off to boarding school up there in Auckland. That didn't work, so she put us on a one-way ticket to Australia, to Sydney, to live with my auntie. Yeah.
And where did you land in Sydney?
So we first landed in Bronte, down by Bondi on the east suburbs.
Yeah.
And yeah, we hated it. We hated it at first because we knew no one and very new country. But no, we ended up taking a liking to Oz and the very fast, I guess, way of the Sydney lifestyle.
Yeah.
And yeah, just to add in there, probably about 18 months after I got sent over there, the boys that we grew up with committed a murder, and that's boys that we grew up with, and we knew we would have been there. So I guess
back in NZ.
Yeah. So my mum kind of protected me from that. I still ended up in prison, but that's kind of the road that we're taking.
So you 18 months in Sydney. Then when did it start going? When did you start getting into trouble over there?
Not so much trouble. I was just always going out partying and drinking and socially using drugs and stuff like that. I was playing rugby league for the Sydney Roosters all through the junior development. My brother was with the South Sydney Rabbitohs, and he went on to crack first grade at the age of 18 for the Rabbitohs. And so the pressure was on me to, I guess, make it as well. And I was 16 years old, and I kind of buckled to that pressure and turned to drugs and alcohol and partying and doing a lot of shifty things on the side, and ended up getting introduced to meth, and that's where my life takes another chapter. And yeah.
How long were you using meth for?
Just under 10 years. So I was introduced when I was about 20 years old, and for about 6 months I was abusing it, selling it. I started off just selling it, and then on the weekends, and then every weekend, and every other day, and then the longest binge I was on for was about 2 weeks. But yeah, to answer your question, Lance, 8 years. My drug abuse actually got.
And I can relate, as Mana knows. So Mana actually Mana saved my life when I was going through addiction with the same drug. I don't even have to say the name of it. And Mana actually saved my life, literally. And he put me on a plane and took me to Tonga. And I've been to numerous rehabs in Australia and it wasn't working out. So we had to think outside the square. And Mana took me to Babao in Tonga and left me there for a year. And that's about 3 and a bit years ago, and I've been clean ever since. So
it was
awesome, bro.
Good
on you.
To take the credit for it.
If he hadn't intervened, I don't know where I'd be. So I'm really grateful. But when you mentioned 10 years, that seems to be about the cycle, a pretty common cycle. But once you try it, there's a good chance it's going to control your life for the next 10 years. You might not be on it the whole time, but for a good 10 years, you're going to be a mess. And this is why I preach to people that I've never met a drug addict, and I've met hundreds and hundreds of drug addicts. And I've never met somebody who was addicted to drugs that had never tried drugs. So my message to my kids and family friends is it's not worth the risk of trying it, because even if there's a 5% chance that you're one of the people that will become an addict, that's way too much chance. The stakes are way too high. And you just really need to not try it, But we've got to be honest with young people. The message is, we were lied to in the 80s and the 90s with the anti-drug campaign. They show a picture of a person who's, flourishing in life, and then they show a picture 2 seconds later because he took drugs, and he's in the gutter and toothless and homeless, right? Now, that's a thing called apathy. People can't imagine that happens to them. And then what happens is, so the authorities lied to us, the teachers, anti-drug campaigners lied to us and told us, as soon as you try drugs, you'll be in the gutter with no teeth, instantly. And then what happens? Young people, they meet friends who play football and have businesses and and they get on the coke on the weekends, or they go to rave parties every few months and take drugs, and they're fine. And they've been doing that for a long time, and their life is fine. So instantly, the young person takes the message. While that was all bullshit, everything my teachers told me, the anti-drug campaigners, that was wrong. That was a lie, because I just met Mitch, who takes drugs every weekend. He drives a bloody Porsche and he's doing fine. So as soon as they discredit that message that they were taught, because they were lied to, okay, so I'll try drugs. Yep. So they try drugs. And then when they try drugs, then they're at risk of becoming a drug addict. And then a percentage of those people become drug addicts and do end up in the gutter, because the message was wrong and it didn't have any success whatsoever, with huge rates of drug abuse. So we lied to our kids. And what we need to tell them is that we have to be honest with them, that yes, you may get away with it, but if you are one of the people that tries drugs and becomes an addict and ends up in the gutter, the stakes are too high. It's just too much to bear. It's absolutely horrific, the outcome. The outcome can be horrific, so don't try it, because don't take the risk, Even if the risk is 1 in 1,000 that you'll become a drug addict in the gutter, that is way too big of a risk. Much too much risk. So don't try it. Do not try it. That's my message. And it might you might try it, you might get away with it for a number of years, maybe 10 years. A lot of people use drugs recreationally and they still prosper in life, and it doesn't harm them whatsoever, and they think that's fine, and that is fine. But then 10 years, some people it takes 10 years. And then 10 years later, they have a death in their family, their wife dies or something, so they turn to their drug of choice. And before they know it, they are a junkie in the gutter. And my wife's a solicitor, so we meet people all the time, people that were millionaires and now are homeless living in their cars. That is a common story from the result of taking drugs. So the outcome's horrific, and the message is, don't try it. It's not worth the risk, no matter what the risk is. Whether it's a 50% chance or a 10% chance of becoming an addict, it's it's horrible, and it's too big of a chance, and don't take the chance. It's not worth it. That's my message. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm with you on that. I'm with on not taking the chance, and also educating our kids on the ultimate effects of not just scaring them into fear of not trying the drug, but also educating them on what the long-term effects of drug use is going to cause on the brain, on the body, on the health, on your family, on the wider community, as a ripple effect of taking drugs.
Yeah, it's horrific. It's absolutely horrific. Yeah, it is. It should. We need to educate our kids. Well, I'm lucky I can educate my kids, and hopefully they won't make that choice. when they see the statistics. You know, the stats don't lie. The statistics of drug abuse is horrific, and everybody should be aware of it, so they can be aware of that information before they make the decision to try drugs. You know, you need to be well informed.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that too, Lance. With some kids are getting educated. I do believe it has its place by people that have never tried drugs before, like me and yourself speaking about drugs openly, have lived that experience, have been deep in a like, because I've been in drug-induced psychosis. I've been heavily addicted to methamphetamine. They need to be hearing stories from our lived experience to educate them on what's the end goal of what it looks like to be a bloody drug addict on ice.
It's torture. It's a living hell. It's torture, you know.
So, Mark,
I'm still on the missing persons list, and that's a bender.
Yeah, bro. I feel you on that one, bro.
So, Mark, how did you? It started off recreational, and then what happened?
I do remember just getting introduced because I was in the nightclub scene. I was managing 2 events in Sydney, 20 years old, had a whole lot of money, whole lot of time. So it's a recipe for disaster. So all coke, MDMA, pills and party pills and drugs. Alcohol just wasn't doing it for me. But then once I got introduced on the side, I don't know how, a mate just slipped me some ice and said, put this in here in a pipe and smoke it. And as soon as I had that, bang, that was it. You hear this story all the time, but that was me. I put it in the pipe, and as soon as I smoked it, I just wanted it. I fiend for it. I was just craving it. I think I called that guy like about 1,000 times. He had his phone off, and I was just calling. That's how like addictive it was. I was just trying to get the next fix, and started off socially, and then depended on it to stay up in the nightclubs to get through the night, and then it started the weekends, and then into Monday, then Tuesday, then Wednesday, then it was every fucking day.
What did it cost you?
What was that?
What did it cost you? What did you lose in your life?
5.5 years in prison, time away from my family, watching my nieces and nephews grow. It cost me getting deported to another country where it's very foreign to me, 14 years in Oz, all my immediate family's over there in Australia. So not being able to go see them, it's taking that away from me. Lost a few teeth, a lot of money, but the thing that's taken away from me most is my time away from my family, and obviously I can't go back to Australia, getting deported. That's the main thing that's taken away from me, the most important thing.
Your family. So it's taken everything from you. Yeah. Wow. And is there any chance you could come back to Australia for a holiday?
No, not anytime soon, bro. Peter Dutton with the laws and the way the government goes in Australia, they change the government like they change the undies, bro. He's got a different prime minister every 2 weeks. But the immigration minister is pretty harsh and full on with the laws, and fair enough, it's your country and you're in the heights of power, and you get to do whatever you want to do up there and make those calls. But hopefully in the future, maybe there's a slim chance. But
mind me asking, why did you end up in prison? Like what were you charged with? Or
I had made. I guess I was in a circle where I was surrounded by some pretty dodgy characters and gangs and stuff like that, and kind of had a disagreement with a certain guy and threatened my family, and that was basically it. I went and committed a number of offences, shooting charges, got caught with 2 guns, and I've done a few things, and went away for 5.5 years.
There seems to be a lot of the island boys end up in jail in Sydney.
Yes, bro. I believe my thing behind it is there's a lot of trauma that hasn't been unpacked in regards to especially Pacifica. Growing up in a Tongan household, we're told to suppress our feelings and emotions and not talk. So we turn to drugs and alcohol, and the rage comes out like that, or we've been sexually abused, or father wasn't there. There's a lot of neglect. There's a lot of things that have happened when we're kids that we just haven't spoken about. They're deeply core beliefs, and so we turn to gangs and
underlying issues that contribute to the drug use.
Yes,
people don't talk about that too often. It's not making an excuse. There's no excuse, but there's a reason for it. And if you knew about the underlying reasons, you might have a little bit of understanding or sympathy even.
Yes, bro. And that's my big thing.
I never met it, and I met literally thousands of junkies. I've been to prison, and I don't believe any of them woke up one day and decided, I want to be a toothless junkie and spend in and out of jail the next 20 years. It's not a conscious choice. The public, the normal people, they think people in jail and drug addicts, it's a choice, a conscious choice to become a hopeless drug addict and a jailbird. Nobody makes that conscious choice, there's a backstory to that. There's underlying reasons for it, Like I said, I'm not making excuses, but there's a formula to that. Nobody sits out and deliberately planned for that. Is that right?
Bro, 100%. I met a lot of Islander boys inside. We've grown up in similar circumstances as myself, being Tongan, and we've got a parenting style that doesn't serve us. We've been told to go to church and pray and that tough love approach. That's a big one. That for myself, it was neglect from a young kid from my father. My father was always there physically, but wasn't there emotionally. I couldn't go to my father and talk to him about how I'm feeling. And I'm naturally a talker. If I'm going to cry, I'm going to cry, bro. I don't hide my feelings. And with a lot of that neglect from your father figure, but my dad's dealing with his own trauma that he hasn't unpacked. It's a intergenerational transmission. He's taught a certain way from his father, and his father's just to bring it down the line. But as soon as you realize what's going on, as soon as you become conscious of all that trauma that hasn't been unpacked, it's up to us now, our generations, to start talking about it. Not just talking about it, implementing actionable steps, because talk is just talk. We need to start putting in these services and all these other resources to make that big change.
Makes sense. Yeah, I lived in Tonga for a year. I know what you're talking about. And it's probably like Australia 70 years ago. People don't talk about feelings and stuff like that. They're pretty tough, maybe a bit too tough, and it's not serving them well.
No.
And taking out sorting out the issues with violence a lot. I was involved in a bit of violence almost every weekend when I was in Tonga. Yeah, yep. I was a frequent at the local at the cells in the jail.
Yeah.
And the police care. They'd lock you up for the night and they'd let you go, and you'd say sorry to the guy you hit, and it's all forgiven. There was never I was never charged. Never went to court. I just had to buy the cops in the police station some Kentucky.
Yeah, both some KFC, bro.
Not real KFC. What is it? Just
It's not real KFC. They call it KFC, but it's not really KFC. But they love it. It's a delicacy there, And so I just, because I'd have my phone in the cell, and I'd call one of my Palangi mates and say, mate, bring enough KFC for the whole police station. And they'd bring some KFC, and then they'd let me go. But
that's it. You gotta pay the toll, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to check the police on retainer. I'm not joking. It worked out good.
He used to go to the cover parties.
Acceptable there. It's normalised. It's not taboo. It's quite. Sorry, say something, man.
I said you used to go to the cover parties with the chief of police.
Yeah, I'd be drinking kava. I was sitting in the same tent at a parade with the king. I'm not joking. It was only the night before I was in the cells, and then the next day I was at a big function in a big park, and I was sitting in the same tent as the king and the governor. I was sitting with the governor and the chief of police and the king, and all my other Palangi mates that have been there for years, and they're involved in all sorts of businesses and stuff. And I just turn up, some junkie from Melbourne, and they've been trying to get close to the royalty, and I'm sitting in the tent right there with the king. And my Palangi friends are like, what the fuck's he doing there? He was just in the police station last night.
That says it all, bro.
I buy the police KFC every day, so that's
yeah, bro. You make him happy.
Funny place. It's a good experience, you know. Some things are better there, some things are not so better. And I think everyone in Australia should have to go, because you lived in Australia for a long time. All your true blue Aussie mates, they sit around watching the news because they believe everything they see on the news, and they sit around going, "Oh, Australia's gone to shit. The government's corrupt. The place has gone to shit. Too many immigrants. The roads." And they're so pessimistic about Australia. You meet these people, especially people that are a little bit older, very pessimistic about Australia. "Oh, it's gone to shit. This country's gone to shit." All these people should have to, by law, live in a third world country for a year, right? And then see how you feel about Australia when you get back from a third world country. You'll count your blessings. It's the best place one of the best places on earth to live. We're extremely lucky here, but people in Australia don't realise how lucky they are. You know, they just complain and whinge, and they listen to fucking rats like Tracy Grimshaw and Darren Hinch hyping us up, telling us how the courts.
Is she still going, bro?
Yeah, she's a piece of shit. You know, she just likes to play on. Hey?
Has she put on any more weight?
Probably, you know, but but so the media are responsible, I think, for this pessimistic attitude of the average Australian, because they're sitting there showing these stories, not the full story, just the negative part, and playing music over the background, dun dun dun. You know, like the place is fucked, and everyone believes it. Everyone's pessimistic about Australia. I meet them all the time in the gym everywhere I go, and use the tripping. Firstly, don't listen to Tracy Grimshaw or any of these rats, and go live in a third world country for a year, then come back to Australia. If everyone in Australia went and lived in a third world country for a year, come back here, would be the happiest happiest country on earth. You know, give you a bit of perspective on how lucky we are here. It's not perfect, but I don't know. Can you tell me a better place in the world to live?
No, bro, Australia, bro. I've only been to two countries, Australia and New Zealand, and bro, Australia is one of the best countries to get deported from.
Yeah, and you know that's why that's why the country's so great, because we've got high standards and we deport people like you. You know what I mean?
Criminal.
We get rid of the rubbish.
Mark, so just take it back a little bit. You're in prison there. You're on the meth hard out. How did you start getting off it?
Take you a little bit back, but my meth use actually, when I went inside, went through the roof, because obviously you're surrounded in an environment with a lot of drug dealers, criminals, you know, boys that know how to get things, and obviously there was a lot of drugs that I got my hands on in there. And what took me to a place where I stopped taking meth was I had to hit rock bottom. That's the only way I'm going to learn. And like Lance, you know, you went to rehabs and you tried all this stuff to try to get off it, but it was taking you to Tonga, thinking outside the box, that made you get off it. For me, it was hitting rock bottom. So I had to get to a place where I went into my third drug-induced psychosis, and I ended up in a psychiatric wing. They put me in a psychiatric wing, heavily dosed with medication. I was going around the jail, committing some pretty stupid things, and going around the jail spraying people with Mortein can spray, thinking they're cockroaches, and just wanting to kill and murder and poison people. Like, I really had these dark, fantasizing thoughts about killing people, you know, and getting yourself to a mental state where you want to eat people. They had to put me in a medical high dependency unit, they call it, and put me on all this medication until they got the medication right. And that was the end for me, bro. That was enough. That I just had to stop, man. And thinking about getting out, and for my family now, I got married and got a wife, and a beautiful baby daughter and a stepson that's looking at my every step. You know, my life's on a whole nother trajectory or a different road.
Well, that's amazing. Congratulations. So you're married now and you've got kids, and you don't seem insane anymore. That's amazing. And
I don't know. Not all the time, bro.
Haven't been as lucky. Is that right?
Yeah, bro, definitely, bro. I definitely feel blessed and something that I really needed. And my partner's been a big part of my change. She's Aussie, and she left her whole family in Oz to come and start a new life here in Christchurch, New Zealand. So she's a soldier, and she's been through, the down and deepest, darkest place with me when I was in my psychosis and going through jail. So her being that big support system that I needed, that's played a big part in me making this change and being on this road to redemption.
All right, that's great. So she's your higher power.
Yeah, bro, definitely. Oh, yeah, she's the higher power, bro.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Well, that's terrific. I'm glad that you were successful. And what do you do now for a living?
At the moment, I'm doing my building apprenticeship, carpentry apprenticeship. So I'm 9 months into that and loving that as well. I want to get a trade and always wanted to be a builder, and but at the same time working on Road to Redemption and just trying to push as much content online and trying to go into the juvenile centres and do talks and working in a few things, trying to put together a program so we can implement it in maybe schools or juvenile centres and working on that, bro. So keeping me busy.
Tell us more about Road to Redemption in case people want to support it and learn more. How can they find out more?
At the moment, I'm pushing most of my stuff just on my personal page, Mark Talanoa _ Road to Redemption.
That's on Instagram. Sorry.
Yeah, that's my Instagram.
Yeah,
and I do have a Facebook page that's just Road to Redemption if you search that up as well. But yeah, like you guys having a talk with Mana last night kind of inspired me. I've always wanted to scratch this itch on interviewing people. We put together a research project where I go around interviewing like-minded people, especially of Māori and Pacifica backgrounds, on their lived experiences, whether they're successful in business, sports, being still involved in gangs, and trying to get, I guess, some stats on what made them either successful or still where they are now.
Get it out there.
Yeah. So I want to start my podcast, bro, and so hopefully I can be on this side and interviewing you guys, bro.
No problem.
We're not very. I don't know if we're podcast worthy. We're not very interesting people,
Oh, bro, I don't know you, bro. You've told me a lot just in this last 20 minutes, man. I do believe, and that's another thing that I try to push. The power of your story. We all have a story as human beings, and that's the powerful thing. Everyone's unique and authentic in their makeup and the way they think and the way they've seen things and done things in their life. And if we can just all share a bit of our story, I'm comfortable in front of a camera, as I believe you two are as well. And there's other ways that you can speak your truth and inspire change.
The music in Sydney now, the stories they're telling, that's inspiring to me.
I love it. Yeah, bro.
It's really taken off.
Yes, man. Yes, definitely. Yeah, I see the boys doing their thing, and I'm loving all of it. It's given the Islanders a platform to start speaking their truth, and that's through rap or drill, whatever they're doing. And yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy though what's happening, how they're getting banned and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's just the Sydney government just being power trippers, bro.
Yeah,
I think they've overlooked. These guys that are rapping. They've overlooked the positivity of it. They're showing their peers. So they're showing the younger generation of Tongans and Samoans something positive you can do. You can start playing music and put it on YouTube and do something exciting besides drinking and fighting and getting in trouble. They're showing something positive you can do in your spare time. I think it's a great message and an inspiration to all the other young people that, hey, if they can do it, I can do it. And maybe I just can't see anything negative about what they're doing. I think they should be supported, not, they've been banned and they're not allowed to wear their colours and whatnot. I think they're doing a good, positive thing,
Yeah, bro. Definitely. I love it, eh? And like you said, it gives the other polys, you don't have to be talking about, gang stuff and drugs and all that stuff. It's just giving the other young Islanders that are going down a road of, I don't know, whether they're walking a straight road, to giving them, a platform to speak their truth and be creative. And
even if that's, even if they are talking about the gang stuff, it's stuff that's going on anyway, and That's the lives they're going through. And the time they're doing it, they're doing something creative instead of just, being out there. They're actually using their time constructively to put it out there for other people to see.
Yes, bro, definitely.
The fact, I think the authorities, their problem is that these rappers, they have a past. They've been in trouble, right? And so probably the government doesn't think they should be role models because they've been in a lot of trouble. But I disagree. I say this is a great message because what it shows other young people is, look, these guys have been in a lot of trouble, but they've turned around and now working towards doing something positive, following their passion of music and doing, and moving away from being in trouble. And I think that's a good message. It's showing people that even people that were maybe bad eggs or got themselves into trouble can now move on to doing something positive and they'll be embraced by the public. That's a great message, So you meet people that have been in a lot of trouble and they think, they can't move forward, won't be accepted because of their past. But this shows no matter what your past is, if you want to do something positive, then we'll support you. But the government doesn't seem like they're doing that, does it?
Yeah, I think they're just getting. It's always that minority, It's that kid that gets. Obviously, they got a big influence on culture, as rap and hip hop has always done. And it's the kid that watches the music clip and goes and does something stupid, It's that 1%, and they just tarnish everyone in the same brush, I think.
Yeah.
I saw you had a cameo. I saw you had a cameo on the video.
Oh, feature, bro.
Yeah, feature.
yeah. Rook and Mussy Rook reached out to me, and I done a little bit of time with him in prison and know all his boys and stuff like that. And as soon as he told me he's got a line in there that talks about the 501 boys getting deported, I was like, yes, I'm jumping on that straight away.
That film clip was incredible.
Yeah, bro, that's next level. That film clip doing very well too. So good on him. Good on him for his debut. Yeah.
How many views is it up to?
I think I looked at close to 200,000 in less than 2 days, like just over a day. I reckon.
That's pretty good.
It's getting a lot of attention.
Yes, Crazy Visions with the visuals. He's next level, and yeah, good stuff for the brothers. That's what I love about boys getting out of prison and either they're starting music or speaking up, like myself, or they're starting a clothing label, and all going legit, And I love that. I'm all for it.
Yeah, there's definitely worse things they could be doing with their energy.
Yeah, sure. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, the government have got it wrong to try to shut them down and put pressure on them. They should be encouraging them, supporting them, renting them a studio. Here, play music. That's great. That's a good thing. Play your music. They should be helping them, not discouraging them.
Yeah.
If they're not allowed to play their music, what are they going to be doing in this for the fun?
That's right. Yeah. So true, bro.
Yeah.
But yeah, boys, I think we've got to wrap it up because I've got a crying baby in the background.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks a lot for your time.
Nah, thank you guys, man. Thank you for this opportunity to be on you guys' podcast, and hopefully you will give me the same opportunity when I start mine. And
yeah, definitely. I'm waiting for your YouTube channel to come up.
What was that?
I saw a few. You did some mini reactions on the Instagram. I don't know if you're gonna do some reaction videos on YouTube.
Yes, I've got a YouTube channel, bro, but I haven't really been posting anything. So I think doing podcasts will really push me to do reactions. That I love doing reactions. I've got a few reactions that I've done with my wife. But yeah, bro, I will, man. Definitely. Yeah.
Right. So you share this around. I'm going to post it. You'll share it around for us,
bro. 100%.
Awesome. Yeah. 100%. Thanks a lot, man. Hey, it's nice to meet you. Really enjoyed speaking to you.
Well, likewise, bro. And hopefully I'll get to podcast and interview you on your drug abuse, bro. Yeah, bro.
He'll definitely be keen. One thing he likes to do is talk.
Loves the camera. That's a good, thanks, bro. Ian. I love the camera.
Keep in touch.
Thank you, boys. All right, I'll
see you, mate.
Can I just take